Good evening and welcome to Tuesday's Encounters from New York. This program is presented every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on New York time. The program is being presented live on Zoom and Facebook. Our very special guest tonight is Yeshiva Lex. Yeshiva is a mindset and transformational mystery coach at Synergy Living. Yeshiva is joining us tonight from Alabama, and we're so excited to listen to her presentation. So welcome, Yeshiva. And if you can open your microphone and join us.
Hello, good evening. How are you doing today?
Good, good. So we're going to be discussing power of mindset and mindfulness.
Correct. Yes.
You have to excuse me. I've been under a little bit of an allergy attack today, so.
No worries. You're probably going to have to excuse me too, because I have a cough from a cold that I caught last week. So right. We'll just be in choir. We'll be in harmony.
Very good. So where should we start?
Well, I would like to start by just inviting everyone just to take a deep breath and tuning in with yourself. You can close your eyes or not, but whatever you prefer at the moment. Just take a deep breath and be very present behind your eyes. Connecting with yourself and connecting with every single person here and every single person who is going to watch this recording, because time doesn't exist. So we will be together, all the same. All right. Okay. Well, thank you for having me tonight and Tuesday's Encounter in New York. It's great to be here. I'm very excited about tonight.
Very good. I'm very excited to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I am very passionate about this. Obviously, I'm a mindset and transformational mastery coach. So this is one of the things that moves me most. I have a lot of things that I love, but this is one of those things that is really, really high up there, because I really believe that our mindset not only shapes our lives, but it's also the lens through which we see everything. So how we choose to see something, or our everyday happenings, really changes how we experience life, how we align ourselves, how we create coherence in our systems, and therefore whether we're ultimately happier or not, and really how close do we get to unity, which is, I believe, really what we all want. We want to feel loved. We want to feel that we belong. We want to be part of something. So I believe mindset is that thing that, and mindfulness together, they work that beautiful balance in our lives.
Okay. Do we have to reinvent ourselves in mindset to progress?
To progress? No, because to me it's not about progressing, it's about expanding. But very often to expand, you have to go deeper within yourself. So that's why mindset and mindfulness work so powerfully together. We have a big trend right now of mindset this and mindset that, and there's somewhat rigid views of mindset. Like you have the two types of mindset, where you have a growth mindset, where the beliefs, like a person's beliefs, are centered around the notion that their abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. So that's a growth mindset. And then you have the fixed mindset, which people think that, traits like intelligence or talent are fixed traits that you get from when you were born with a specific set of talents, and that's it. You get to develop that, but that defines who you are in a way. And we see that, let me backtrack a little bit. Just if we see the mindset is really a series of self-perception. So it's basically the beliefs you have about yourself that determines your behavior and your attitude towards yourself and towards life, like we were saying. So what impacts your mindset is, first of all, your beliefs. So it depends on what your beliefs are about yourself, about life, about the world. All of that is going to shape the world around you. So when you look at where our species has come from, right? Our ancestors used to be, they were wired to survive. We were wired to find food and run away from danger so we could survive as a species. So our brains are automatically wired to find, what is it that can kill me? Where can I find food? And that's like the most basic of humans. That's what it is, that we're wired. So there's the need to connect. Why? Because if we stayed connected with our tribe, then we would survive. If we were casted out of the tribe, we most likely would not make it, because we would not have the protection of the tribe to, find more food or get protection, not be eaten by something. So that sense of safety usually comes from feeling accepted or feeling loved or feeling, like you're part of something, and of always looking for that problem that could, ultimately, do you in. So to change that wiring in our brains, we sometimes very likely have to go through a series of processes, and we have to go into our deepest self to find where those beliefs are that are actually shaping what it is that we don't like. Because very rarely you'll find someone whose life is perfect. We all have things that happen to us. We all have experiences, and there's a whole other reason to that. But when we get to a point in our life where we're like, okay, so there's this, I've gotten this far, I want to go farther. How do I get to that? That's when we sit down and we look at, okay, what are my beliefs? What is helping me? What is not helping me? Because mindset might not be a negative thing. It can be a positive thing. Negative, positive, right? It's something that it's getting me closer to that I believe I want to get to, or pushing me away from it, right? But we can change that wiring, which we can change it by different methods and different practices that we usually suggest, especially in coaching. We have a lot of factors that we see that are definitely coming more to light, like epigenetics and neuroplasticity, where we're seeing how the old belief that your genes also define who you are, or define the diseases that you're going to have later in life, or where we have been finding for the longest time that is not true. Both in epigenetics and neuroplasticity, we see how individuals in many different species are able to change the expression of the genes without changing the actual DNA sequence. So what does that mean when we talk about epigenetics, for example? Epigenetics is just the expression of a gene, is the changes that an organism causes when it adapts to something in its genetic expression, not the code of the DNA. So an example of this is, for example, you have brain cells, you have muscle cells and skin cells and different kinds of cells in your body. They all have the same DNA, but what makes them what they are is the expression is what the cell is told to express or repress. That makes it a muscle cell or a, nerve cell. And so we're seeing how not in different organisms, how this is actually shaping behavior, is shaping how health develops in certain organisms. And we see that that expression or that behavior of the different cells in different bodies and different organisms is usually affected by, a lot of times, by environment. So exposure to chemicals, exposure to nutrition, and even emotional and physical factors. So we see that in neuroplasticity. Actually, there's a very fascinating study they did with mice, in which they trained a group of male mice for about 10 days. They subjected them to a cherry blossom-like scent and gave them a slight electric treatment. And they did that for 10 days on these mice. And then they realized that they actually developed more receptors, more smell receptors for that specific smell. Then they had them reproduce with this group of females, and they allowed their pups to grow and without being exposed to this smell. But then when the pups are finally exposed to the smell, they presented very stressed and fearful reactions, even though they had never smelled this before. And they also found that just like their dads, they had more receptors in their nose to this specific smell to survive, to avoid that thing that caused them pain. And they found the same to be a truth with their grandchildren, the grandchildren of the original male group. So when you look at cases like this, you can't help but to think, how does that affect humans? How much information do we have from our ancestors that is in our brain, ingrained in our brain, things that we do that we don't even know why we do it, but we do it. And it's just information that's been handed down, but it's not because of our experience, it's because someone said something along the way, or it's just something that you're like, oh, I don't feel like doing that for some reason. And it affects our health, it affects our relationships, it affects our relationship with money, with abundance, with everything around us. So that would be, why mindset is so important and so crucial to really bring to your awareness of how are you experiencing life? What are those beliefs that you're living from in your day-to-day? So that will be, do you have any questions?
Well,
Does anybody have any questions yet?
Yes, at what point do we recognize that we need to make a transformation? Or do we have to have some sort of an epiphany to say that just living by the past tribal knowledge that we have to go ahead and change? We have to have a transformation because that's not necessarily the best way to live.
Human experience usually will bring that on its own. So usually when we come to a point where we realize that something's not working, we're trying to get to a specific place, or we're trying to achieve something or even change something about ourselves, but it's just not working. I see it a lot with clients that are, for example, trying to lose weight. And they start a diet and they're on it for a couple of months, and then something happens and they start another program and then something happens. And so there's a point where they're like, I don't understand, nothing works, nothing. Then this is a perfect example when you go and you look at, okay, so what is really the root cause of what's happening? Because it's not the diet, it's not the exercise program. Those, depending on, a number of characteristics, they're going to work for a group of people, and you don't know if they work until you try them, right? But it's usually those limiting beliefs and something in your mindset that is preventing you from getting through the finish line. It might be you sabotaging yourself for some reason, but there's something in there. So once you realize, it's usually awareness in a situation where you become frustrated enough to realize there is something here that I need to look at. And usually we need help to get to the deeper root of these problems, because we get ourselves so far, right? But there's a point where sometimes, a lot of times, we need help, whether it is from, that faithful friend that tells you things like, without a filter, or a therapist, or a coach, or a parent, or someone who loves you and will tell you, hey, this is a pattern you keep doing. This is something that you repeat in your life. And then you go deep and then figure out how to change it. And that's usually how you come to these transformations. You come to a point where you can't go no more. You just have to make a change. Now, to make these changes, there's a series of tools and techniques that we use in coaching. And I could talk to you all night about it, because a lot of them are very fascinating and they're very deep. Of course, there's, good old hypnotherapy, and there's psychotherapy, and there's all sorts of things. But as I always say, without an action plan, you're just going to be looking at your journal and not get anywhere. And you can journal forever, and yes, you'll get it out of you. But if you want to make a change, you have to have a plan. And so the first step for me is to be aware, is to have awareness of what it is that is going on, to sit with yourself very honestly and figure out, okay, I know this is wrong, or this is not helping me, more than right or wrong. This is not helping me. What is the next step for me? And there's something magical that happens when we bring awareness to something, and that's from the observer effect. We see, especially in quantum physics, you see a particle will change its behavior depending on whether it's observed or not. And we do the same thing because we're made out of particles, right? So if we start to observe ourselves and we change our attention, that's where our energy is going to go. Energy goes where attention goes. So, and I'll give you a quick silly example. It's like you buy a red car and you've never had a red car, and all of a sudden you see a million red cars on the road when you never realized there were so many red cars. Like, where all these red cars came from? There's a very usual thing. Like, once you start to find something, it starts to come to you. You start to notice it a lot more. So we come from that observer effect first. When you figure that out, when you realize this is where your attention needs to go, then you start to find solutions, because you're thinking about solutions, you're thinking about options, you're thinking about, hey, what else can I do with this? So being open to solutions is another step that we usually go through. The next one will be changing those limiting beliefs, changing those beliefs that are blocking you, that are stopping you from moving forward. Like I mentioned before, like if you're someone who's trying to lose weight, or someone who wants to do an MBA, or someone who wants to start a new company, or someone that has had that project for a long time, and for some reason they don't get to do that. So we sit down and we look into that and we say, okay, so what is the limiting belief? Is it fear? Fear of what? Fear of change, fear of losing someone, fear of losing yourself, fear of success. What is it? What is the underlying cause of you not doing the next step? Why are you sabotaging yourself? If you say, okay, I'm going to start that company I've been trying to start forever, and you sit down on your computer, but then you're on your phone, and then you're answering messages, or then you call X, Y, and Z, or you start watching, TikTok or Instagrams, or you're like, oh, remember a million things to do. All this is just you sabotaging yourself, and it's your mind doing that. Why? Because we like to stay what's familiar, even if we don't like it. We stay in what's familiar because we know it. It's safe. So making that aware, being conscious of that, you can start to make changes. And a very simple way of doing that is just writing it down. For example, writing down, okay, I believe, what is it that I believe about success? Okay, I can't make it because nobody in my family has made it, or I come from a part of town where nobody came out of poverty, or I got injured when I was little and I cannot, get to that point of fitness that I want to be because I have an injured body. All these things, and just writing them down, and then ask yourself where you got those beliefs. So if you believe that you can only make money if you work really hard, that's not true. We know that's not true. So sit down and figure out where you got that belief. Did you hear your mom and dad talk and say, well, you have to work really hard, you got to earn your money, and you have to be, have an honest job, and da-da-da-da. And usually 99% of the times, this is where we got those beliefs, from my parents, from my teachers, from TV, from our culture, from our friends, from our loved ones. And it also takes a lot of courage to go in and let go of them, because a lot of the time we're loyal to those beliefs because it's what keeps us connected to these people. That, again, we go back to that ancestral brain that wants to stay connected and wants to stay in the tribe so you survive. So that's one way, one tool that you can use to start looking at what it is that might be holding you back. And then you can, a very interesting tool that we use is, instead of setting goals, for example, I want to make, $100,000 a year, is changing your identity. So it's more like, who do I have to become to be someone who makes $100,000 a year? So instead of your goal being, okay, I want to make $100,000 a year, you change your habits, you change how you think. You change, all right, so what does a person who make $100,000 a year do on a daily basis? At what time do they wake up? What kind of shows do they watch? What kind of exercising do they do? What kind of food do they eat? What kind of people they hang out with? What kind of places do they go? And you put yourself in that mindset. You put yourself in that place, even if you don't have access to them. The beauty of this day and age is that we have so much information. So you don't have to be there. You can just watch videos of people who make 100,000 or more a year. You can listen to interviews on what they talk about, what they say about life. And it's something very important in mindset, is that when you reprogram your mind, your brain, your mind takes pictures even faster than words. When you're visualizing, when you're doing visualizations, the pictures are even more important than the words. Even though we're wired that if I tell you, don't think about a pink elephant, you're going to think about the pink elephant, because that's how we're wired. But you see the picture in your mind, and that's my point. So seeing those pictures, if you put a picture in your mind is going to believe it. It's going to believe that it's real. And eventually you put it in front of you so many times, it starts believing it. And that's one of the principles why affirmations work in a way. But I'll say this, affirmations only work if you do all the steps, meaning You put yourself in that place, you get yourself in that feeling and that frequency, and you see it, you taste it, you hear it, you are there. Once you can get yourself in that mindset, then your brain is going to start to make it familiar. And once it makes it familiar, then it lets go of the other belief and says, oh, no, this is what's familiar. Because also your mind is wired to get you closer to pleasure and away from pain. So if you make these new things familiar, then you are going to automatically go to them. It's like going to the gym. I don't think there's a lot of people that like going to the gym. They might like what it does to their body, but they might not really like going to the gym and spending, an hour at the gym or 45 minutes at the gym. But then when you start to just tell yourself, I love going to the gym, I'm a person who goes to the gym, because then, we rewire that identity. It's not like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym because I'm like, I have to go to the gym. Oh no, I got to go to the gym again. So we're like, okay, I am a person who goes to the gym. Why? Because I want to be healthy. I want to be fit. I want to look different. Or I want to improve my body. I want to improve my mind. I want to get, all these benefits that come with going to the gym. But then you change into, okay, what does a person who goes to the gym do? It's not about going to the gym. It's about becoming the person who goes to the gym. So there's this wonderful book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And he describes it beautifully. Like, okay, so you want to start working out every morning. Set yourself up. Set yourself up for that. So you leave your clothes the night before, all set next to your bed, and you leave your coffee ready in the morning with a banana or a piece of fruit or whatever it is that you want to do before you go work out. And you leave yourself set up so that you wake in the morning, you don't have to think about it if you need coffee before you think. So you just get up, put your clothes and your shoes, and you go. So you set yourself up and you do little changes. You don't start by saying, oh, Monday, I'm going to go to the gym and start meditation and do a detox and do a social media cleanse. No, you do little steps. And those little steps, once you implement them and you make them part of your daily life, then you go to the next little step, because you become that person that does that thing. You change your mindset just little by little. And that's on the mindset. Now, how are we doing so far? Let me make a little stop there and check in with you.
And just when we start learning things like this, it brings up a lot of questions that we might have. But the presentation is fine. It's like, okay, once you start these, you make new habits. And how long do you build on that before you decide, well, that's maybe not the right direction. Maybe I have to reevaluate this and actually reevaluate it. How often do you reevaluate things?
That's a great question. So that's where I believe mindfulness comes into place. When you start to apply mindfulness together with mindset. Why? Because when you're mindful, when you practice mindfulness, it involves being present in the moment, not judging what's going on, observing your thoughts, observing your feelings, observing your environment. Some people call it contemplation. It's been talked about by many philosophies and by many sciences, and it's not just about sitting down and praying and meditating and being in all. No, it's about actually being present. Some people think that mindfulness is just being like, oh, I'm aware of the wind and the sun and all these other things, and yes, it is, but it's actually more than that. Is being present in your body, being here right now. If you want to see some examples of people who have been incredibly mindful and present, you can think of anyone in your life that you admire that has like a strong presence. We could say that of Jesus. We could say that of Oprah. We could say that of a lot of people. Those people that walk into the room and you're like, okay, you can feel when they arrive. They're very present. And it's very much so that practice of bringing, if you want, more of your spirit into your body rather than finding your spirit somewhere else, because it's not, it's really here. We are an expression of spirit, right? So when you bring that into the physical, then you become aware of another level of guidance, another level of things that you might want to work on. So how can we practice mindfulness? One of my favorite ways is gratitude. Because gratitude makes you stop for a second and be aware. Be aware, what am I grateful for? And it makes you be more mindful of what it is that you have in your life that you can be grateful for. And just, it's a very simple practice that we do with clients. And I love to start with that one because it gets you out of your mind. It gets you out of that what ifs and what do I have to do and da-da-da-da and all that, overthinking into what am I grateful for today? What am I waking up to? I'm breathing. I have a gift. What am I going to do with that gift today? And where am I going to go with that gift today? And when you start to rewire your brain from that standpoint, amazing things happen in your body. You start to change your heart-brain coherence. You start to change your physiology. It's really amazing how deep you can go when you join those two together. So mindfulness also a lot of times opens the door to intuition or guidance of, depending what it is that you believe, might be your higher self speaking to you, or God speaking to you, or someone else speaking to you. It's really coming from within, right? Whatever that voice is, it's coming from within. And a lot of times it starts to tell you, okay, when you sit down and you look at, okay, what am I thinking? What is this emotion bringing up to the surface? A lot of times it's going to show you your resistance to things. It's going to show you what it is that you need to work on. When you see the mirror and the person you have in front of you, because you're being mindful, you're practicing mindful conversation or mindful listening, and you're seeing how the words that someone might be telling you reflect on you and how they make you feel. And you're like, oh, wait a minute, that upset me. Like, I did not like that. Why? Because that person is not saying something to upset me. They're just saying something. And so then I can go in there and say, okay, maybe there is a belief in there that maybe I'm feeling like I'm not enough. Maybe I'm feeling like I'm not accepted. Maybe I'm feeling like there's something in there. And so, okay, let me go in and look and see if I need to do deeper work in those beliefs and see if maybe that's preventing me from growing. You see it also, for example, in entrepreneurs or career people, when you get to a threshold where you don't get farther in your career, you don't get farther in your business, and a lot of the times is that there is some kind of block, there is some kind of belief or some kind of like fear of not going farther because of, and when you sit down with yourself and you're like, okay, let me look at it, let me sit with it, let me be in the moment with it, and then you start to find answers, and the answers tell you, okay, so since I'm finding these fears and I'm finding resistance to this, usually because I need to do work on that. So how can I do that? All right, I can put myself in different situations. I can change habits in some kind of way. I can have affirmations. I can do visualizations. I can even join an organization that does something that helps me work this, volunteer with something. And there's such a long list of things that you can do. But definitely having a practice, a daily practice that you can implement in your life where you have that space and your day. I usually suggest in the morning because it's the time where we're like clearer, we have less chatter in our minds, to sit with yourself and do your gratitude exercises, do a meditation, if you will, or journaling, and then do something that helps you grow. Say a class, or watch a video on something that teaches you something. And then you go on about your day. There's a beautiful practice that I learned from Vishen Lakiani, who's the owner of Mind Valley, which is daily block intention setting, which you can do eyes open, eyes closed, before, after meditation. It really doesn't matter. But it's to sit down with yourself in the beginning of the day and to visualize how you want your day to go. So you visualize your morning, you visualize your breakfast, then you visualize yourself driving to work or dropping the kids off in school, and then sitting and doing your morning work, and then having lunch. How do you want your lunch to go? Then you go through your afternoon, then you leave work, you come home, you spend some quality time, and then you rest and you go to sleep and have a restful night's sleep. And what this does is basically what we spoke about before. It places your intention and your attention and how you want your day to go. So your attention is going to go on the things that you want to bring to your day. So usually when you do this, even if there's something during the day that is not the way you intended it to be, you tend to have a more positive attitude towards it, because you're like, you know what? Oh yeah, that happened, but it's probably because it had to happen anyway, or okay, it's trying to tell me something, but there's still the rest of the day, and I know the rest of the day is going to be okay. So it helps change that mindset. It helps change that perception of what is sent to you, what comes into your life as you go through your days. So that's another tool that you can use for your daily practices in mindfulness. And how are we doing so far?
Oh, we're doing fine. Excuse me. Do you use imagery to say that you create the future picture, basically, that you would like to see? Or just create anything just in your mind before it even exists?
Does it exist or does it not? That's another encounter. But visualizing is a very powerful tool because your mind works mostly with pictures. But I believe it depends on the person. Some people have a harder time visualizing. Maybe they might not be as visual. They might be more auditive, or some people have a harder time really picturing things in their mind. So sometimes it's just a feeling it, or if somebody has, for example, if they have a hard time picturing it, like images of the things that they want in their mind, what I usually do is ask them to make a vision board and find pictures of things that they like, that they want in their life, and we make a vision board. But it's not just the visualization. It's not just seeing the picture. The seeing the picture is one of the beginning steps, because once you can see it, you can start to move toward it. But it's seeing it, feeling it, hearing it, tasting it, is really putting yourself in that space as if it's already happened. So once you put yourself in that place, you're getting yourself aligned energetically with the frequency of that which you want. And that's gonna shift something in you to get you towards that. Easy example. Let's talk about an athlete that wants to get to the Olympics. They can feel it. They can see it. They watch the Olympics since they were little. They want to be there. And they go through a very detailed plan on how to get there. They train. They go to the studio, the gym, or whatever they need to do to get there. They put themselves in the places they need to be to get there. So it starts with the thought. It starts with the intention of, this is where I want to get to. And then your mind will start to give you the solutions, will start to give you the path of how to align yourself with that. But you have to have a plan that has to be flexible, because life has its own plan. And that's where mindfulness comes in. You have to have a lot of flexibility to allow the plan to happen, because sometimes there's better ways to get to places than the one that we think is the best way. And a lot of the times when we force things, it's because we have a belief somewhere in there that it has to be done this way, rather than just allow the process to happen. And that's where the mindfulness comes in, where you just sit down and listen and allow. There's many beautiful examples of that. In my own life, it's amazing when you start to see those synchronicities. And there's days where you kind of wake up on the wrong side of the bed, and then the whole day kind of like downward spirals, and you realize that you woke up that day and you were extra tired from the day before, you didn't do your meditation, and then it's like, oh, okay. But tomorrow's another day, and something that's very important is to be kind to yourself and realize that those are also that's part of your learning process, where you're like, okay, so if I do that, it does not work well for me. Okay, let me try it again tomorrow. And not be like, oh, my life is always like this. And it's easy to fall into that. I've been there, we all been there. But what's important is to be like, okay, this is what this is teaching me. What is this situation teaching me? Where the mindfulness comes in. And so if this is trying to teach me something, how can I make it better so that I have more peace and more harmony in my life? When something doesn't give you peace, it's usually because it's coming from ego, from me forcing something, or it's trying to make me see something that is not allowing me to expand in some kind of way. So other practical tips are the things that you can do, apply in real life. I love this app called Mindfulness Bell, because you have this really gentle bell for people who have very stressful lives. It's great. And you can set it up, and you set your own intention of maybe every hour I'm gonna stop and breathe, just breathe. Maybe every hour I'm gonna, get up from my chair and look out the window, connect with nature. Maybe once every hour I'm gonna say thank you for something, or close my eyes and connect to source, or whatever you resonate with, but that it becomes a practice. It becomes something that becomes part of your daily life. And it really doesn't require you sitting down for an hour, 45 minutes, or half an hour to meditate, because not everybody likes doing that. And not everybody's used to doing that. Meditating is not just sitting down and closing your eyes and chanting Om, or listening to a guided meditation. A lot of people have a hard time doing guided meditations because you sit down and you listen to the track, and then you're like, oh, I forgot to pay the bill. And then you're like, oh no, I forgot to put this in the kid's backpack. And then you're like, oh yeah, and I wonder how cold is it going to be tomorrow? And so your mind wonders. That's what the mind does. So for some people, it's okay, and they're all right with that, with just letting the monkey mind go through stuff. But for some people, it's easier to do like a walking meditation, and just walking for 10, 15 minutes, or 20, or 30, or whatever they can, and just being very present. It's just about being present. What is the temperature like? What does it feel under my feet to just walk? And the wonder of being able to walk, to experience this reality in this physical body that we enjoy. Are there birds singing? Is it rainy? It's just being present in your body. Or even say that day you can do your walking meditation. Well, I mentioned earlier, you can do mindful listening. And you can just be in a conversation like we are right now, and just be present and listen to every word the other person is saying. Something that I like to do sometimes, even when I'm very, very stressed and I know my mind is going a million places, million directions, is when I'm speaking to someone, I'll repeat every word they're saying after they said it. So I'm following the conversation, and I know that I'm listening to everything they say, and feels like I'm definitely more present. And those are just little tools that you can do in everyday life, and doesn't require to do like a big sit down. But of course, journaling always helps. And you asked earlier how often do we sit down and do a self evaluation? And I would say, to me, it depends. It depends on where you're at, because sometimes people are going through very difficult situations where sitting down to do that on a daily basis is very painful, and it doesn't serve them. But some people like to do that on a daily basis, and it does serve them. So I think it depends on the person, and depends on what it is that they're going through, or that they want to accomplish in their growth. Speaking of growth, there's a really, really beautiful tool called the 3 Most Important Questions. And I believe everyone should do that you can do that every 3 or 6 months, just to revise it. Definitely every year. But in the 3 Most Important Questions, you basically do 3 columns. And you put, in the first column, you have your experiences. In the middle column, you have your growth. And your third column, you have your contribution. And these are the 3 most important questions that you can ask yourself. What kind of experiences do I want to have? What kind of growth do I want to have? What kind of contribution do I want to give? And for example, when you talk about contribution, it doesn't have to be, oh, I want to open 10 schools in a third world country, or it can be a simple goal, daily goal of, I'm going to smile at 3 people today. I'm going to give 3 random people a compliment. I'm going to remind myself that I'm always surrounded by love. I'm going to feel love in any situation that I encounter myself in. So that could be an example for contribution. It can be, I'm going to, help gather toys for kids on Christmas. It could be something like that. Or it could be, I'm going to teach free classes to teenagers. It could be something like that. Or I'm going to, aid my family in something. But it doesn't have to. It can be something small too. And experiences, you could have something like, I want to travel to Australia by next year, or I want to experience, swimming with dolphins. It's the things that you want to do, but it's more of something that you experience. Like, I want to go with my family to a place, or I just want to have a quiet time every day with my family, or with my son or my daughter, or with myself. And then growth is all those things from, I want to learn how to play guitar, or I want to finish my degree, or I want to change jobs, or I want to start a new company. Those are the parts that you do for growth. And those you can print and put them on your wall, and you can revise those every 3 to 6 months, definitely every year, and see how they change, because sometimes from year to year, you'll change. And sometimes from month to month, some of those will happen, and then you can check them off. And this tool comes from Vishen Lakhiani, and he speaks on how they actually put up all their 3 MIQs on the Mind Valley office. And it's really beautiful, because then people start to gravitate together that have similar experiences, for example. So some people want to go and hike a specific mountain, and then you have 2 or 3 of them that want to do that, and they get together and they do it. So that also, there's something about writing your goals down or the things that you want to have in your life that brings that frequency one more time into your life and actually makes you gravitate towards people who are on the same path as you are. So that's another tool that you can use. And I really want to give you this exercise, give it to everyone for you to use it. And it's a very incredible exercise. It's incredibly powerful, and I will tell you, painful, as most deep diving into self-awareness tends to be. But it's also beautiful. It's incredibly beautiful. And it always gives a lot of insight and outcomes that are beyond what we imagine. And this exercise is called Expose the Lies. It comes from Lisa Nichols. If you know her, she's from The Secret, originally from The Secret, but she's a big speaker and coach. And in the Expose the Lies exercise, you basically grab at least 10 sheets of paper, at least. And you grab a pencil and a pen. And you're gonna write down all the lies you tell yourself. You go one by one. You start with area by area. So you can start with money. For example, I'm never gonna make enough money. I don't have enough knowledge to get more money. You have to work hard for money. Money doesn't grow on trees. All those beliefs that we have in our minds. And leave about 4 lines of space in between, all in pencil. You start with money, then you can move to fitness, then you can move to relationships and health and abundance, all the lies you tell yourself. And don't think about it too much. If you start to think like, oh, no, don't think about it too much. It's the lies you tell yourself that you know are not true, but you tell yourself anyway. And you leave that space, because then with your red pen, right underneath, you're gonna write the truth about that lie. So say, I'm a slow learner is your lie. Well, there's the truth about that, is like, I can learn anything fast. So you write all the truths. And let me tell you, you cannot let more than 4 days go by when you do this exercise, because then you're not gonna finish it. Because it's one of those things like we spoke about before. If it's uncomfortable, your mind is gonna walk you away from that and into more closer to pleasure, right? And this exercise is painful, because if you don't cry through this, please talk to me, because I want to know how you got through that without crying. It really gets you to look deep. So you write your lies, you write your truths, and then for 2 days, you're going to read that at least 4 times a day. You read the lie and you read the truth. You read the lie and you read the truth right there. Because what are you doing? You're giving your mind the lie, but you're giving it the solution. You're reprogramming it like, hey, this is not true. This is true. And for 2 days, you're going to do that. And after that, you're going to grab an eraser. And guess what? You're going to erase the pencil. And you erase all those lies you tell yourself. And it's so liberating. It's very liberating to see that that is not true. That is just, all those things are not true, but we tell it to ourselves because they're there in your mind, very deep in your programming. But you still have to go and get it. You still have to have that action plan, and you still have to take care of yourself and take care of all those things that you want to see happen in your life. And I think so what else can you do? You can do the affirmations, but again, the affirmations work if you place yourself in that feeling, if you place yourself in that space, if you place yourself in the in the whole environment, right? There's been wonderful, wonderful experiences I've had where like I really wanted to get to this experience, and I meditated and I visualized it every day, and I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm gonna make it, but I'm there. I would meditate, I just sit down every day, very like I wanted it bad enough that it was like I'm gonna visualize it, and I don't know I'm getting there, but I'm gonna visualize it because my mind is gonna show me how I'm gonna get there. And then I've finally gotten there and sit down and do a moment of mindfulness there and actually see myself back, seeing myself in the future. It's really fascinating, like how it starts to, your own self starts to tell you, it tells you how to get there. You have the blueprint already. It's just learning how to listen on how to get there and doing it. How are we doing?
Right. So once you have succeeded and you brought a plan to action, and you've reached a goal, then what next?
You go back to your 3 MIQs. Go back to your 3 most important questions. What experiences, what growth, and what contribution do I want to bring into the world, bring into my life? And it's going to change. It's going to change all the time. There's this school that says that you should set goals that you have 50% chance of attaining. That means you have 50% chance of failing. So give yourself some goals that are so ridiculous that you know that there's a very slight chance that you're going to make them. And for example, Google fails 40% of the time because they set themselves up for all these goals that are bigger and they fail. But that means that they also succeeded 60% of the time. So when you give yourself those goals, that means that it's going to give you the drive to do things that you don't really know if you can do, but you're going to figure out how to do them. And every time you just reach a little bit higher and you keep going back to your 3 MIQs, and you also give yourself license to fail because it's okay to fail. If you don't fail, you don't learn. If you don't go through pain, you don't grow. Humans also learn most actually from pain and suffering than from when things are nice and dandy. So that's something that you keep doing. You keep checking in with yourself, checking where you're at right now, because where you're at is going to continue to change. It's going to continue to expand as you move through life. And life has many seasons, so every season is also different. There's seasons where you can do a lot of things. There's seasons where if you get one thing done a day, you're good. So you just keep checking in with yourself, and that's when that mindfulness comes back into place, or you keep checking in, you keep being gentle, and you keep being, have compassion with yourself. Some days are better than others, and things are always going to change, but they always take you in a direction that you are meant to go, that you knew you were going to go. So just keep listening to the guidance.
Now, as a coach, do you work one-on-one with clients, or do you work with groups of people, or both? Or
I usually do both.
How do you do your coaching?
I usually do both, but nowadays I do more one-on-one coaching, and we usually meet and we look at what the person challenges are, and depending on what it is that they have going on, we'll have an action plan and we go through different things. Now, I also have someone less conventional way of working, is I come from the performing arts world, and I come from the non-traditional healings. I come from holistic practices. So depending on the person's beliefs, I would also add those to our sessions. So we might have some sound healing sessions, we might have some music therapy sessions or movement I also do yoga, dance, and yoga. I've been a yoga instructor for 17, 18 years. So I bring those also into place because there's a lot of times when someone might not be able to say what's going on with their body, but they will have a release if they put the body in place or move in a certain way where you allow all those feelings and all those thoughts to just release. And it's also very powerful. So that's something I do. I also do workshops in person and online. And we work with a lot of these topics. Actually, I'm going to have one on mindset in October 12th. So, and that will be online. So we go deeper into certain techniques of, how to let go of those limiting beliefs, how to rewire your mind, how to rewire your mindset, and how to apply it in day-to-day life so that it is actually sustainable. It's not, like I said, not like, oh, Monday no, it's actually something sustainable that you can continue to do. And you can learn also how to apply it, how to fine tune it on your own. Because if I'm holding your hand the whole time, then if I'm not there, I'm not giving you a favor if I'm not teaching you how to apply it on your own and how to grow. If I'm not there, then I'm not actually doing you any service. So.
Do you think, or do you discuss if there's a spiritual component to the mindfulness, that we essentially ask for something greater than ourselves for intervention, for advice, for help?
I do believe so. And I also believe it doesn't matter what it is that you believe. There is something, if you want to call it greater than ourselves, it's just something that we're part of, that we're contained inside of. And because of we're part of this field or universe or God consciousness or however you want to call it, whenever you tune into it, you will get answers. You will get what you're looking for because you are part of that. So in a way, you are kind of responding yourself. So when we work with, for example, sound healing, it's not me who's doing the healing. I'm not going and healing you and I have the power to heal you. No, I'm just bringing forth frequencies that are there available to you from this field, but you're the one waking up those powers, if you want to call it that. You're doing that. And that can only happen because there is this greater energy, there's this greater thing that we are made out of that activates when we connect with it. And so like we activate to the healing in our bodies, we activate with the healing in our minds and in our emotions and in our hearts. But yeah, so the short answer is yes.
And I think listed somewhere in the bio is about synergy living.
Synergy living.
Synergy
Yes.
living.
Synergy living. Yes.
Is that your website? Is that?
No, my website is yeshivalex.com. Synergy living is what I do a lot of the workshops through. It's kind of like my company. And I do the workshops and the in-person experiences. And that's another way that I present them, but it's really just Yeshiva Lex. That's just through me.
Okay. So what else would you like to tell us that we haven't asked you yet?
I would like to ask, I want to do a quick meditation if we have time, more like an exercise. Yeah. I would like to close with that, but I wanted to ask if anybody has any questions or any comments.
Absolutely. Does anybody still attending have a question? Seems pretty quiet, so.
It is quiet today.
Yes. So if you'd like to close with a.
Okay. So if we're ready, I would like to invite everyone to just take a deep breath and bring your attention to yourself. Notice your breath. And breathe your eyes closed if they're not closed already. Notice your grounding. Connect to the earth. Smile and feel yourself more grounded and present in your body. Feel all your energy coming back to you from all times and places, and be fully present behind your eyes. Breathe. Notice the earth beneath you. And as you connect with the earth, feel your body relax. Let go of any tension that might still be lingering in your body. Feel your grounding into the earth, becoming stronger and as wide as your body. Notice if there's still any tension in your body and give it permission to release. Keep breathing. And slowly let your grounding expand until it's as wide as your stretched out arms. And imagine you're in a large glass elevator and you're inside this elevator in this large grounding. And you're going to ride this elevator down to the center of Earth. So find the button, press the down button, and feel the elevator starting to move. Feel your awareness going down through your body, through your feet, down into the earth. Continue moving down, 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 deeper and deeper into the earth. Notice any thoughts, any feelings that are distracting you, and let them go. Keep breathing. See yourself arriving at a large cave in the center of the earth. See the light, soft light, radiating from the walls of the cave, illuminating the space around you. Feel the pulsating energy of the earth around you. Just take a minute, take it all in. As you're feeling the earth and her pulse, ask Earth if there's anything that can help you heal, that she can give you. And feel how this deep healing is coming through you right now. Let yourself relax and receive it. Any old, long-held pains leaving your body, anxiety, your worries, let them go. Your doubts about yourself, feel them sink into the earth, releasing them forever. Your limiting thoughts, everything, release it and let it go forever. ask the earth if there's anything else that can help you heal. As you take one more moment to say thank you for receiving this gift, this healing, give yourself a deep breath and feel the earth energy getting stronger beneath you as you feel your elevator beginning to lift and lift you through the earth again as you travel upward. Notice the earth energy feeling and clearing your grounding. As you notice yourself arriving again in your body, get past your feet, get past your heart and your throat, and let your awareness be gently behind your eyes. See the elevator fade and disappear, and feel your grounding become as wide as your body once again. Notice how your body feels strongly connected to the earth, and feel your spirit being fully present and deeply anchored into your body. Give yourself a deep breath and smile, feeling confident, feeling relaxed, feeling clear. And as you're ready, you can begin to wiggle your feet and your hands and slowly open your eyes, noticing what feels different. Welcome back. And I would love to hear from whoever wants to share. How did that feel? How did that feel for you? How did that feel for you, Mark?
Well, it's always very relaxing to take a few moments and clear your thoughts, and clear your mind, and it actually made me think of mindfulness.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you.
It was really very descriptive and very pleasing. It was very, very nice and pleasing.
And it doesn't take more than 5 minutes to do something like that in the middle of your day or in the morning. It sets you up for the rest of the day. Oh, that reminds me that there's a free gift that I have for everybody who is here today, and whoever listens to this later on. And I believe the link is going to be added to the description of the video. But there's a free gift. It's an affirmation. It's about 5 minutes long, and you can do it. You can just play it when you're driving. Just pay attention to your driving. You can just play it, put it on repeat while you're cooking or taking a shower or anything. It's really beautiful and it's really powerful, and I hope that you enjoy it.
Thank you.
And you're very welcome. You're very welcome.
And thank you for the presentation. You know, it's very interesting, informative. It was an extraordinary experience that we had the opportunity to enjoy. Hope that we can hear from you again in the future. So
I
thank
sure
you
hope
again.
so. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. And if anyone wants to reach me, I believe the links are going to be down also. I have also a free call or free discovery call. If anyone wants to do that, I'll be there too. And it's a way to see if we can work together. And it's a wonderful way for me also to connect with new people. I love talking to people from all over. Yeah, just keep tuned because I'm always doing certain things all over the place. I travel and I do things online, and I will definitely look forward very much to be back with you guys on Tuesday in New York, either remote or in person. That'll be amazing. But thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor.
Very good. We enjoyed having you. It was an excellent presentation. And for everyone listening, we will have another presentation next Tuesday, 7 p.m. And it is about a near-death experience. So if you're available, listen in. It should be interesting. So thank you again, Yeshiva, and thank you to all the listeners.
Thank you so much, Mark, and I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your day and week. Thank you so much.